And today I think we have a lot of things to talk about. We have to talk about content marketing, personal branding. There's a social media. There's a lot to talk about. But I don't want to start there. I want to start with actually sports, because I think one of the things that we have in common is our love for basketball, and even deeper, I think both of our fathers were basketball coaches, right?
Yeah. It's a unique experience.
It
Definitely,
is.
we both have that kind of a history. Yeah,
So
my father was
go
a
ahead.
basketball player and a basketball coach. He played in the second league of ex Yugoslavia. At the
Hmm.
time, it was huge. He was actually in doing trials for Red Star
Really?
when he was the best playmaker in the second league of Yugoslavia at the time. So they invited him there, but he didn't want to listen to the coach because they were leading 20 points with him doing what he knows how to do. So they say, go back to Pirot. At least that's how my uncle was telling the story.
Yeah, you never
Um,
know how true these stories are, because I hear a lot of stories about how good my dad was, and I don't believe any of them.
yeah. I mean, I know because other people are telling me
Right.
he was good, and yeah, he he. I mean, until the last day, he's not. He died in 2015, but he was able to play and shot 3 points even at that time.
Yeah. No,
So
I
yeah,
relate. My dad beat me one on one until I was like 14 or 15. And then the day that I beat him, he never played one on one against me anymore. He was like, "Okay, we're done."
yeah.
But what were the lessons that you got out of sports? Because I think, um, as an entrepreneur and business owner, for myself especially, sports is where I get the most of my inspiration and experience. I am a young entrepreneur, and I have to pull from somewhere, and basketball is where I take the lessons. So what were the things that sports taught you and that have helped you later on in life?
Yeah, I mean, definitely helped me a lot. Not only with some experience connected to the game and everything, but firstly, in the 90s, we couldn't travel anywhere, so the only way to travel was around the country, and basketball gave me that experience. Also, we were all part of the team, like at the time. Watching like Grant Hill, Michael Jordan, all those guys, and also listening to hip hop, or singing some things.
Right.
It all helped develop a unique experience. And for the last few years while I was playing, like my father was my coach, and I was a captain of the team because at that time I was the oldest one in the team,
Hmm.
and it's a unique experience. I mean, I started playing with like 7 years old, something like that,
Yep.
and at the time we were all kids, and nobody was willing to give interviews to the television after the game, right? Local little television,
Right.
and when nobody wants to do it, I'm the captain, and my father is a coach, so I need to do it. So, and that gave me a unique experience because I started doing public speaking while I didn't even have 10.
Right.
So, yeah, and I mean, until this day, like local televisions and media companies, they are just inviting me to the show. They say, okay, we are sure that you can come and talk for 50 minutes. That's
Because
it.
you've been
No
doing it since
introduction.
you were like 8 years old. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, for
but
me,
teamwork and leadership are some things that I'm bringing from that period of time, definitely.
for sure. Yeah, and because of the podcast, I've had the chance to like interview other entrepreneurs and CEOs, and you wouldn't believe how often that happens. Like how much of a sports inspiration, and using that as a learning experience translates to the business field, right? For me as well, I think as a CEO, you're more of a leader than a manager, right? And being able to be a leader in the court and seeing other leaders, because when I was in college, I played NCAA basketball in the States. I was not the leader of my team. I was a freshman and there were like seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing him, I remember this guy named AJ. He was the point guard, and we were doing weights before. And I've never done weights in Spain. We don't do weights, but in America they do so much
Yeah.
weights. And I was really struggling. And like he would yell at me to like do a bench press, and I couldn't do it. And because he was yelling, so I eventually had to like figure out my way to do it, right? And just seeing what a leader brings to the team, now I try to bring that to my company.
Yeah, I was just came to my mind because you're from Spain, and I don't know, like a year ago, I was reading a great story about Coach Snyder from Utah Jazz,
Yeah,
how he helped Ricky Rubio go into the team and develop the game that got Utah Jazz in the position when they are now. So they are
yeah,
like in the top five teams in the Western Conference.
yeah. Ricky, he is like somebody who hasn't had like he started playing professional when he was 14. So like, and
Yeah,
he
I know.
played. I was watching the other day. As you can see, this podcast is very conversational and we branch out. But I was watching the other day the Olympic Games of 2008, I believe, where the final was Spain against United States, and our starting point guard was Ricky Rubio at the age of 17, and he was
Yeah,
going against Chris Paul. And the first play, he goes on a fast break and he does a behind the back pass to Pau Gasol for a dunk. And I was like, I cannot believe this kid with 17 years old is going
yeah.
against the best players in the world and like doing behind the back
That,
pass.
that's the confidence. I mean, all those guys like Teodosic, Mačvan, all the others from Serbia, they all developed their skills while playing um, in their young age.
Right.
I mean, they won some medals, trophies, MVPs, and just by challenging themselves, they got into the position where they are now amongst the best players in the world.